right. Welcome, everyone. We're here for our live meeting. If you are watching and you could share this out to our groups, that would be awesome. All right. How are we doing this week, everyone?
Good.
Fine.
Good.
Okay.
Excited, enthusiastic, all of the above.
Where did Genesee go? She was there and now she's gone.
Where'd she go, girl? I know I don't want to start the reading until she gets back. But okay, so Matt, you weren't in backstage with us, so I titled today's meeting, "Am I making my weakness my greatest asset?" Because that is what the reading is about today. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the reading, and we'll kind of go around and share, and then we will check in with our people. So 24 hours a day, the little black book, thought for the day. One of the most encouraging facts of life is that your weakness can become your greatest asset. Kites and airplanes rise against the wind. In climbing up a high mountain, we need the stony crags and rough places to aid us in our climb. So your weakness can become an asset if you will face it, examine it, and trace it to its origin. Set it in the very center of your mind. No weakness, such as drinking, ever turned into an asset until it was first fairly faced. Am I making my weakness my greatest asset? Meditation for the day. Whenever we seek to worship God, we think of the great universe that God rules over, of creation, of mighty law and order throughout the universe. Then we feel the awe that precedes worship. I too must feel awe, feel the desire to worship God in wondering amazement. My mind is in a box of space and time, and it is so made that I cannot conceive of what is beyond space or time, the limitless and the eternal. But I know that there must be something beyond space and time, and that something must be the limitless and eternal power beyond the universe. I also know that I can experience that power in my life. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may accept the limitless and eternal spirit. I pray that it may express itself in my life. And it was capitalized, so I'm assuming that they're speaking of God when they say it. So it says, I pray that I may accept the limitless and eternal spirit. I pray that God may express itself in my life, himself in my life, huh?
Yeah.
Confusing there at the end. We got the general gist. So really I kind of liked the beginning the most. And that, oh, we got Mandy here. You figured it out, girl. Welcome.
Yay! Welcome.
Y'all, this is Mandy. She is the founder of the Tarjun Foundation out of Green Bay. So she's going to join us and kind of, well, you missed the reading, my dear, but the topic is, am I making my weakness my greatest asset? So if somebody wants to start us off and share, Mandy can kind of get a general gist of what we're doing here. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll go first. My for so long my weakness was my disease of addiction, and then once I addressed my, disease, it became like over time, and I like treated and arrested my addiction. It became like my greatest strength, because through my addiction and my recovery from it, I found my true calling, my purpose, and that was to be of service to others and spread awareness of addiction and disease and be an advocate for recovery, and take away the stigmas and the stereotypes, and sway the statistics that come with, because like when I first got sober, I heard that the 2% club or whatever of methamphetamine addicts, that's how many survive. And I remember I was talking to my mom one time, and she's like, why would they even put those numbers out there to like sway us, like to already like condemn you to a life of addiction, and the things that come with it. And it was just over time that like my addiction, my active addiction, it used to define me, but now it like my recovery is what defines me. And it became like through my experiences, the trials, the tribulations, the failures, the falls, the slip ups, whatever you want to call it. When I was in active addiction and my experiences and my growth and the adversity, like once I learned to embrace it, it did become my greatest strength. It did, help me become a better, man, father, boyfriend, brother, son. And, it became my greatest strength because like, I didn't do anything else but be an addict. So I took all the things I learned in active addiction, to help people going through it who were once where I once was to where I'm at now to where they're trying to be later on in life. That's all I got.
Thank you for sharing.
So he was serious. That's all he's got. He got all these back.
I enjoyed that.
Hell yeah, that was awesome. I think I'm definitely kind of, that's what I get from the reading as well, right? Because absolutely, addiction was a weakness. It felt like a weakness, right? It really did for a long time when it was still shameful and whatnot. But it's not, right? Like once I figured out how to take that addictive personality and rechannel it into a direction that was healthy, it's absolutely my greatest asset, right? Like there's no way I could stay consistent with my fitness and my exercise and keeping up with my health if I, didn't have this addictive personality that used to be a weakness to me, but I figured out how to make it awesome. So I love it, you guys.
That kind of reminds me of like what Jeremy Domo says. I don't know if any of you guys follow him, but he's like where your energy goes, your energy, your focus flows, kind of thing. So when our addiction, we used to do like anything. Like I've gone out in blizzards. I've like done some crazy things to get what I needed. And it's like now everybody's like, well, how are you so consistent with the gym? How are you so focused? I'm like, I just channeled all the addicted energy that I had. Like I'm still a powerful person. It's just where I put that energy into. It's like I was a good addict, It's like now I'm just even great at fitness and whatever we put our focus into, we're gonna excel at it because we are some really powerful people. And people don't realize like how powerful we are, as addicts. Like it's not easy to live that life, to maintain that kind of lifestyle, and like the things that these ideas that we would come up with, and I shouldn't say scams, but these like how determined we were. Like I've gone out in blizzards. I've walked to friends' houses in blizzards because to get there, it's like there was really no limit on what I would do, and there really isn't any limit now on what I would do. And like I've been and stuff like that, and everybody's like, well, you need to like take it easy. I don't understand. Like, what do you mean take it easy? Like I give my all to whatever I'm focused at. And, everybody's like, well, take it easy. I'm like, I don't understand those words. Like, we're not speaking the same language because, they're like, well, why don't you take a break? You work so hard. I'm like, now I can't go to the gym. I've injured myself. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I still am the same person. It's just where I'm focusing my energy and attention into,
Oh yeah, girl. I didn't know you got injured.
Yeah. So I was in pull-ups and I was doing them like unassisted. And then I found the assisted machine and I was like, oh, I'm just going to push out like 5 more. And apparently I overdid it and I pulled my pectoral up here. So yeah, so I can't really even hold any weights in my hands. So I finally went back to the gym the other day. But actually I went back after I injured myself and did legs and was still holding the weights in my hands doing legs. And I made it even worse because I was still, even though I wasn't working my upper body, I was still having weight. I was still bearing weight on it. And I had to work through it. And I've been having spasms. And so now I learned I can only do cardio and like legs, but I can't have any weight in my hands. So I'm going back tomorrow. But now I kind of figured out like, it takes a lot to keep me out. I'll find something I can do in the gym. Like, I don't want to sit there and just do all the cardio I can do if I have to. It's just like just being there and, keeping in my routine. Like when you take me out of my routine and all of a sudden, like out of my comfort zone, I get really uncomfortable. And I'm like, well, now this is my routine. I'm so used to doing this. Just like the addiction, it takes time to form new habits. Like once you, have formed those habits though, it's like, now what do I do with myself? But in the same time, it was a blessing because I spent more time with my kid. I got out in nature. I did a lot of grounding work. I took like a spiritual bath. It's like, oh, I've been kind of lacking in these things. So I feel like it was kind of a blessing in disguise. Like, okay, you need to take a break. We need to focus here, even though I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm kind of realizing like I still need balance in my life because I tend to spend a lot of time in the gym. It's like, well, it's okay to take a day off if I want, like somebody wants to do something. I'm like, well, no, I got to work out. I'm like, maybe I need to be a little more flexible and, you know, live a little bit more. Like I really love, like, I don't want to take away from what I'm doing too much, but I can make maybe a few more exceptions. And like, I only take off one day a week.
Right.
But I'm okay. I'm okay with not being in the gym. I can go for a walk. You know, I've been getting out in nature. I did go back yesterday. I felt pretty good. I'm still pretty sore. I'm not having the spasms, but I'm just like, I think it's just part of the learning experience of you know, my fitness journey. And it's like, everybody's like, well, take it easy. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. You know?
Well, I think you do know what it takes to recover, and you understand that you have to respect that injury so it doesn't take you out longer.
Like, okay, I'm like, well, I thought I could do my legs, but I still can't hold weight in my hands. I'm like, okay, well, I just made it worse. But just like anything, like we learn how to be better addicts, but now I'm learning how to be better in fitness and nutrition.
Right.
So the more I learn, the more I can help teach other people, you know, and help them. So like so our strength and our weakness, like if we didn't go through our addiction and we didn't go through everything that we went through, how could we ever assist anybody else? And how could we teach and lead them and show them, you know, I feel like it's part of our journey that we were meant to go through these things. Like we're not bad or whatever for everything we went through, but we were meant to go through what we did so we can help other people. Like who would be around to help other addicts if we didn't go through our own struggles?
Yeah.
You know, somebody has to, some of us have to do it, and we have to succeed because we, you know, we're meant to help others and guide others, you know. It'd be not good if there wasn't anybody there to assist us, you know.
Yes, girl. Yes, you guys, if you're just tuning in, the topic today for our meeting is called, Am I Making My Weakness My Greatest Asset? Awesome, Genesee. Thank you, darling. We appreciate you. All right, guys.
I'm kicking myself because when we were backstage, I kind of laughed at the topic and said, well, we'll figure it out. But then as soon as we transitioned and we started bringing the show up, it was like, hey, wait a minute, Pat, you big goof. This is your verse. This is your life verse, you know, because in Paul's second letter to the Corinthian church, he talks about this very thing, about how he was really ramping up and he was on the go and he was flying. And he got what he calls a gift from Satan. He got a gift from the enemy that took him down a notch. And he prayed 3 different times for God to take it away. And God never took it away. We don't have record that God ever took it away. But in the interim, God tells him, hey, my grace is sufficient for you. And when you're weak, my strength is shown in you. And that's the reality. I have to look at these things that I think of as weaknesses or handicaps or something that's holding me back and saying, that's actually a gift to remind me that I can't do this on my own. And Genesee was talking about, I need others. I need others, but I need God working with me, in me, through me. And if I ever start to think that I don't have a weakness or I can do this on my own, I'm just going to plummet back down the rabbit hole where I was before. So it's the reality of the weakness that causes me to say, wait, I can't do this by myself. I need the strength and grace that God gives me. And I need to be able to show that he's the one who's doing it and not just me. So yeah, my weakness is a gift because in my weakness, his strength shows through. And I get to really do what I'm called to do. And that's make him marvelous, make him glorious, make him the hero and not me. So yeah, I will rejoice in my weakness. I remember before I got into active recovery, I had 20 some years sober. I was already in the pulpit. I was preaching on this very passage, and I just stopped and said, "Wait a minute, I've got a thorn in the flesh," and I started to do something I'd never done and admit to a group of people that I was teaching and leading and shepherding, I struggle still with an addiction to alcohol. I don't drink anymore, but it's part of who I am. It's still part of my struggle. And in doing that, I started to say, wait, this is my thorn. This is my gift from the enemy that he tried to slow me down with it. But the reality was it caused me to lean more heavily on the one who created me to be this, and who gives me the strength to do this, and without him I can't recover. I'm just spinning wheels without God. So my weakness makes his strength shine, makes me rely on that strength. So I think, yeah, my weakness is my greatest gift.
I always love your twist on it and how it always comes back to God. It's awesome. It's that one's a hard one, right? Like giving it to God, right? I think it's like practice. I'm working on that now, right? Like instead of taking credit for things myself, just giving it to God, right?
Yeah.
But it's a practice.
I have
Maybe.
times taking credit for my sobriety because I had such a spiritual. So my dad passed away in 2015 from cancer, and I don't know if many of you guys know, but it was my dad's dying wish, actually, for me to be sober. And I still feel my God's presence. Like sometimes I don't even feel like I did anything. That I'm just that God did this, and my dad's up there talking to God, like, "Hey, we gotta keep an eye on her." Like, So sometimes people are like, "Well, how did you get sober?" I'm like, sometimes it's hard for me. So I'm the opposite. Like, I give God all the credit, and it's hard for me sometimes to say that I did some of the work. I want to give all the credit to God and my dad in heaven instead of taking credit for myself. Sometimes I want to be like, well, I didn't really do anything,
Yeah.
I want to say that God did it all. And really, I feel like when my dad passed, he's like, hey, we need to do something about my daughter down there. Because I'm here sober, and I never had this much sobriety until after my dad passed. And I still feel like I'll get goosebumps. I still feel that my dad has I know he's up there in heaven with God, and I'm sure that he's like, we got to keep, I feel like my dad's with me all the time. And then he's kind of like the go between, I feel, between, me and God, Sometimes I catch myself saying, Dad, I'm like, oh God, because I feel my dad's so close to me. But it's just amazing how it was my dad's dying, which it didn't happen right away in 2015 when he passed. I did struggle, sober, wasn't sober, but I have like I said, it's hard for me to bring it back to myself and be like, yes, I do, I'm always told, I'm clairvoyant and stuff too. So I'm always like, yes, you do need to take credit, you are also responsible for your actions, so.
Oh yeah, girl. Good balance. Awesome. Oh,
Do you want me to pipe in on this?
sure, girl.
So I guess the weakness that I had the hardest time with, which is similar but different, is not my addiction. I grew up in addiction my whole life, ever since childhood. So I never saw it as an issue. I knew that it was always underlying things that were the issue, not the addiction itself. My biggest weakness was when I got my felony. I got adopted into a family that had some money, took over my grandfather's business by my aunt and uncle, and they were quite the to-dos in Marathon County. And my felony and being all over the newspapers crippled, my father thought was going to cripple our family business, and he threatened to unadopt me and change my last name on an airplane on the way to treatment, which I didn't want to go to. So in my mind, I was running bars and whatnot and doing some naughty things in my bars I shouldn't have in Green Bay. But I was paying my taxes on everything I did. So, that was a legit thing for my family. So when I got that felony, it crippled me because they took my liquor license. I didn't graduate high school, so I was a dropout. I had an HSED, which I scored very low on. I didn't see another life besides our family business or the bar. So that felony meant that for me, I couldn't go back to school, be a counselor. I couldn't go back to school. Now this was 12 years ago, but I couldn't go back to school. Like nobody would let you get a counseling degree if you had my felony. So in the eyes of the law, a DUI felony is still seen worse than a drug felony. You can get a drug felony expunged. You cannot get a DUI felony expunged. So basically that felony I didn't know what to do with. That's why I started the community center out of the old bar, because I didn't know what to do. That's why I went back to a college where you didn't have to worry online. And I didn't apply to GB. I applied to University of Phoenix. That was my options. So I had to fight to get my SACIT with that felony. I had to put in way extra hours. At the end of the day, I didn't even use my SACIT. I started peer support services in Wisconsin instead with recovery equipment. But that felony was such a weakness for me, but it actually ended up being like the greatest attribute to everything I do in my life now, because when my 10 years of sobriety hit, my mother said, "Congratulations, your father and I have a present for you. We've hired an attorney. We're going to submit paperwork for a pardon." I literally called everyone and got their opinions on whether I should get a pardon or not. Should I accept this gift or not? Because this felony has created an area that a lot of people miss, and that's even like Matt, right? Like what Matt does with Never Give Up, right? Like that felony has created me to go into human services with a felony. We've constructed a grant way back 7 years ago, where typically the grant we run for ED2 recovery back 7 years ago should have been operated by a licensed professional counselor, licensed LCSW, and Jessica Geschke and those guys convinced the state that the people with felonies should be supervising these because we understand. So now we work with the state. I sit on boards with the state. I, help alongside everybody trying to get it billable. I sit on many boards I probably would not have had an opportunity to sit on had I not had my felony. I sit on STAOTA. Like, I think, the advocate movement that started in our state in Wisconsin years back was driven by 10 of us felons that couldn't get jobs in the fields. So now you're more hireable if you have a felony. Back when we opened the cafe, I used to tell people, somebody came in an interview once and said, and we joked and said, "Do you have a felony?" And they said, "No." And I said, "I don't think we can hire you. 3 felonies. You're not getting hired at June." Like, even our recovery coaches, I'm like, "Do you have a felony?" First of all, how many offenses do you have? How many felonies do you have? If you have, the more you have, the more hireable you are. And back in the day, it wasn't the case. So when that parking situation came about, I even asked, the hospitals were like, I went to my mentor at Bellin Health, and she said, "Well, why wouldn't you want this pardon?" And I said, "Did you ever think in a million years you'd let all my friends run around your hospital? And you let them run around the hospital. So does the HSHS, and they're helping all these people." And Laura's like, "Well, you have friends." So I got all these letters and applied for the pardon, and I believe in manifestation. I'm a shamanic practitioner, Reiki master, and I believe in all that. And I didn't get the pardon. So I didn't even want to apply for the pardon, yet I didn't get the pardon. And I thought, everyone else would have been all upset, but I was like all excited because I thought, how much more can we do in this state with a felony? How much more can we achieve to help, the newer people coming into recovery to say, "Okay, you're sober now." But then the second thing we always hear in our sober homes is, "But I have a felony. I can't go work anywhere. I can't a factory. I can do this. I can do this." And I'm like, no, you probably just can't be an astronaut, really. But the other stuff, you can do anything you want. You can put your mind to. Like, you look at the FBI now, you look at the police forces, and they're looking for that felony base to help out, right? Like, how can you solve crimes without the people that were there how can you help anything without the street smart people? Not everything is book smart related. There needs to be a balance, right? And street smarts gives so it gives a lot of credit to things, right? Experience, kinetic learning. So my greatest attribute that came out of the worst thing that I thought ever happened in my life was my felony. And now my father is even like, okay, all right, we're okay with the felony. You know, I'm not saying go out and get a bunch of felonies by any means. Like, that's not the goal to do, stay felony free. But I mean, even our sober living house dog is named Felony for Pete's sake. And we got her like that from the, prison release program. So I don't know. I don't think, I might apply for a pardon again someday, but they say DUI pardons you 20 years. If they told me that if it was a drug felony, they would have pardoned it. But DUI felonies are 20 years. So backwards thinking, I think, sometimes. But so I don't know. I guess I'm happy I have my felony. I mean, I'm not happy I hurt people for the felony I obtained, but it absolutely made me grow in my life. It probably made me grow more than anything having it, because I've had to fight so hard through it to be able to help people and redeem all the harm I have done. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I don't know if I messed up our screen here, guys. I don't know. Something happened when I hit a button and everything changed. So sorry if it's all weird. Yes, I love all of that, Mandy. It is totally, totally true. So now, you guys, Mandy is, gets news that she's not getting that pardon and she's still got a felony. It's like, oh, this is actually good news, right? Because that felony that I wanted to get rid of can actually help me. That's awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Can I jump in real quick?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, there's two things I want to touch base on. When I was in active addiction, my biggest weakness is that I was down for anything. You know what I'm saying? I'd go rob people, do this, do that, do all this spiritually sick stuff to feed my addiction. But then with faith and getting in touch with my higher power, it turned into what we call open-mindedness, you know what I mean? Because it went from down for whatever to being open-minded to new things, because I was always willing to try new stuff out on the streets, to feed my addiction. But then it just turned into open-mindedness to work my recovery. But it was just the same drive, the same ambition, the same willingness or whatever. But I just shifted perception through faith. And then, with hard work and faith and, just the effort, I was able to, it became a real big asset. And then one of my biggest weaknesses in my active addiction is that I was a known drug addict in Green Bay. Everybody knew me as the guy who never had any money, walking around tweaking, stealing, all that stuff. But now, 6 years removed from all that, that's one of my biggest strengths, is because I was the worst drug addict in Green Bay, Wisconsin. But people in Green Bay, as they see me make progress, and they see me out here doing what I'm doing, and recovering and living clean and being of service to other people. I see people all the time in Green Bay, who say that seeing me doing good gives them hope, because I was the worst. You know what I'm saying? We all think we're the worst, but I was the worst. I used to have this line when I was serving dope. I'm like, do you know who I am? When people owed me money and shit. And then one day I said that to somebody, and he's like, yeah, you're the guy who smells like shit and never has any money. So get up out of here. And then but going from being that joke of a laughing stock to all the drug dealers, you know what I mean? To just figuring out life, going through drug court, getting my life back, practicing spiritual principles, practicing my faith, and then applying them in my daily life. And then people that knew me from the street see me out there, and they don't even recognize me. They all thought I was dead at one point or whatever. No, it's just I stepped back from the game, and now I'm out here trying to help people. And it's I feel it was a huge strength, to be an asset and to be of service to people in Green Bay and surrounding communities like Mandy. We work together. And, but for so long, being a drug addict in Green Bay, I looked at it as what defined me. But now it's my recovery from that disease is what defines me today, and I feel that's a huge strength, because not only for me and the people on this panel, but it gives people hope that recovery is possible. And no matter how long, because I was in active addiction for 25 years, and then the last 10 years, I was addicted to heroin and meth every day. And to be able to do that and not have a house, not have a car, not have a license, not have this, and just being broke and just the worst, to being I'm not rich or wealthy or anything like that, but I feel like all of us on this panel are huge success stories, just from, taking our strengths and our adversities and embracing them and showing the world who we truly are. That's all I got. Sorry.
Thanks.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Great testimony, brother from Green Bay. I like it. Hell yeah.
Would say that too about me. Like my friends would be like, "Oh, they thought I'd be the one too that was never gonna get clean." I mean, I don't know what they really said about me, but I've heard that, oh, nobody ever thought I was gonna get clean. I don't know if I ever thought I was gonna get clean. I tried, I failed, I tried, I failed. Now, like sometimes I have to look back and like think about like everything that I've overcome, and I'm just like, sometimes I don't. People are like, "How'd you do it?" And sometimes I'm like, I don't know. Like I just look at where I'm at. I'm like, I'm not rich, but I don't really struggle. I don't really struggle. I don't really have bad days. I mean, I have a decent job. I mean, I have a car that's paid for. I have an apartment that I pay my rent on every month. Now I'm not rich, but I have everything I need. I really don't want for anything. And I'm like, I support myself. I pay my own bills. I don't have a husband. I don't have, I'm self-sufficient, and I take pride in that. I was married for a long time, and I believe that marriage was pretty toxic, and just standing on my own 2 feet. And I don't, I think it was just everything I went through, I was meant to go through to get me to where I'm at. I, hope that I can help other people. And I've been talking a lot too about, I hear a lot of people saying things like, I can never do that, or I can't do this, or I can't get sober. I'm like, so I've been trying to work about, I'm big into like your words and energy, and like I'm big into spirituality, and I'm like, you're casting spells on yourself with your words. Change your words. Stop. You're doing this to yourself. Oh, don't say I can't. Be like, I'm comfortable. I have everything I need. God provides everything I need in my life. Everything I need will come to me. Change how you talk to yourself, and you will see that things will change for you. Like every morning, people laugh. I don't care. I yell out my window, I'm going to have a great day. I love my life. And I will have a great day because I'm saying I'm going to have a great day. No matter how I wake up or how tired I am or how much I feel like I'm in a funk, you set the tone for your life, for your day, on your words, your mindset. So if you like, oh, I can't do that. Well, maybe that is not meant for me, and that's okay. And we don't always know what's meant for us. And if we change how we look at things and be like, oh, I didn't get that job. Well, that job wasn't meant for me. It is how we speak to ourselves and what kind of energy we're putting out into the world. Like if we say, I'll never get sober, well, you're probably never going to get sober because you just said you're never going to. And people don't realize how powerful. I mean, we have words and speech for a reason. How powerful our words and our own speech, how we talk to ourselves and what we verbalize, how we can change our day just by our words. So I've been trying to preach a little bit more about this and try to talk to people about how we're talking to ourselves, how we're talking about, things that happen to us in our day. Like, oh, this was really hard, or this is impossible. No, it's possible. This was a situation I had to learn from. Like we need to change how we think about things and how we talk about things, and our life will change.
Hell yeah, girl.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah.
So I supervise 24 recovery coaches under Darjun Foundation. And, we have other staff also with Darjun and with Ascend Recovery Center coming in to Green Bay for treatment. And that is like my biggest pet peeve. I don't write up people for a lot of things, right? Because we make mistakes. And like, I know that like as a supervisor, we grow from every mistake we made. Darjun was built on nothing but mistakes, like legit. And with the power of like words, like that goes for like recovery coaches or peer specialists or like even clinicians or like people even out there, sponsors, people working with people in recovery. Like my biggest pet peeve in the world is if somebody says, oh, well, that person is not going to get clean. Look at what they're doing. Like that's the same verbiage we can use even as like people that are like elders in recovery. Like if we go out to meetings or wherever we are and we say, well, that person's not getting it. Whoa, I worry about that person. Oh, they're not going to get it. It's my biggest pet peeve because that's the same verbiage we should be saying to those defiant ones. Because what I know is it's your defiant ones that are always the ones that end up being like these massive advocates and are like, no, down with this. Like Matt was defiant. I was defiant, you know, like who wasn't defiant? I was not that person that came into recovery and said, I'm going to get clean. I really want this. This is everything to me. Please let me in your sober house. I was the person that was like, bro, I'm going to come in your sober house. I'm going to tear that down. I'm going to hide drugs. I'm going to sneak in cell phones. I'm just going to admit this to you right now. I'm not going to do what you ask. So I think like with the power of words, even as like all of us kind of work within that area, helping others, it's so important that like we address that even if we hear somebody say that in our communities, because like in my mind, like I've seen some massive miracles, right? Like one of mine that just poked on a message back, you know, on the thingy from Green Bay. She's massive miracle, right? And like I've seen so many miracles. So has Matt, out of people that people would say would never get clean. Matt's seen a ton of them too. So I think power of words is important, that like we remind everyone that if you see that person struggling in a meeting, or if you are a recovery coach or peer specialist and you have your doubts, like if you put it in your mindset that that person is going to make it, and you tell them they're going to make it, no matter how hard of a time they're having, and you just keep saying, I know you're going to make it. I know you're going to make it. You're going to be sober. This is the same concept that you're going to put that in the universe, that's going to spiral and happen. So on the other end of the spectrum of that.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Part of
like, sorry, go ahead. My bad. No,
Just believing it yourself, you know, getting that into your head, like I can do this, I can be sober. That's a big part of it.
you know, like, actually, weirdly, my story begins at the Darjeeling Cafe when the first time I had hope. There's this lady, Cassie Van Vel, I talk about her all the time. It was after my last relapse, and I was literally sitting in the meeting, texting the dope man because of the guilt and the shame. I just wanted to die. And then this lady, this beautiful angel of a woman, Cassie, like snapped her fingers and told me to sit back down because I was going to meet my dope dealer. And then like the meeting adjourned. And she's like, where you been? You know, she's kind of raspy. She smokes a lot, but you know, and she like gave me this hug and she's like, you're going to be okay. And for the first time in my life, you know, since I was, you know, living with my mom still in my early 20s, I felt like I was going to be okay. And then the same thing happened after I took my mom through the first time she came with me to drug court and saw like the whole process and what they were making me do and like how they care about people. And my mom grabbing my hand and squeezing it for dear life, you know, crying tears of joy because she's like, you're going to be okay. And that was a moment that I hung on to. And those two ladies saying that I'm going to be okay when I needed to hear I was going to be okay helped me get okay, you know. And so that kind of just like, yeah, that just resonated. Just made me think of that, you know. And that, like, I tell Amanda this about the Darjeeling Cafe. That was the first time, you know, that was the first meeting where I met Cassie, and that's where my life went on a totally different trajectory of like sobriety, recovery, and ultimately like being a functioning member of society, getting my life back, you know. Anyway, I just want to touch base on that. Thank you.
And then that goes full circle too, because I will never forget that. Because then Cassie leaves meeting. Cassie comes to me and says, if you don't see that him in here playing pool with the guys, if you don't see him at the pool table, because the guys used to just sit around and shoot pool. Like this is what they had pool tournaments all the time, you know. And you don't see him playing pool. If you don't see him in here, you call me right away, and I'm gonna make sure to call him. So we had like me and somebody else keeping tabs to like when he'd come in, when he'd leave, who's he with, you know. And so it's like the full circle of like taking that one person which you know is like doesn't have a lot of help out there, and just putting like a circle around him. Even if you don't even know that circle's around you, you've got a bunch of people reporting to Cassie. You know, like things right? You're just like, I'm answering to Cassie right now, but we don't know that she's got 5 people watching you. Like, right?
Yeah, her reach is long, man. Yeah.
My one person. You think I don't have 10 people still on her? Oh, I do. So.
Hell yeah. Yes, absolutely. You guys, this is awesome. I'm excited to see everyone sharing, and these guys are doing some awesome things in Green Bay, and I'm super honored to be a part of it and be able to witness it. So it's cool hearing you guys sharing in a regular meeting. I like it. I really like it. Awesome. Hell yeah. So let's get up to some of these comments and we can kind of check in with everybody. You guys, if you're watching, our topic today was, are you making your weakness your greatest asset? And if you want to share and drop anything in the comments, I'm going to start to go through them now. If you're struggling with anything, reach out. There are lots of awesome people in the comments as well as on the panel who can give you some feedback and maybe let you hear a word from God. So, welcome, Lloyd. Good to see you, brother. Amber, hello, my darling. It's awesome to see you. My computer is going super slow, so bear with me, y'all. Brandy, Mark, Olivia, Tracy, welcome, everybody. I am looking for some larger comments here. Brandy says, learning to give it to God helps free me up to allow new blessings to come. With allowing for new blessings, we have to sometimes shed the old to get the new ones. Hell yeah, girl.
Absolutely.
Tracy says, same. I think it took my mom's passing to get me clean. Interesting, sister.
Yeah, I definitely feel that they advocate for us on the other side. You know, that's just how I feel, but.
Oh, you almost made me cry, Genesee. I actually, when I got clean, I was maybe 6 days dry, right, off of speed, and was in a hospital in New York with my grandfather laying on his deathbed. He was in a medically induced coma so that his heart could try to recover. And we spent 6 days there, and it was just absolutely everything that got me clean, right? I hadn't spoken to my papa for a year before that because I was homeless and very much appeared to be a drug addict. So I was ashamed. He was my papa, you know. And when I found out he had a heart attack, that was very difficult to know when he was in the coma, and they were telling me he probably wasn't going to wake back up. So there goes all that, you know, the guilt and stuff and the shame. And I truly believe still to this day that he was in that coma and he was working very hard with God to prove to me that God was real, right? Which was all the difference in getting clean and staying clean. I didn't relapse again after that because my papa did show me. He worked with God and worked miracles in everybody's life around, in everybody's lives around us. So it was undoubtable, right? There was no doubting that it was real. So it made all the difference knowing that I wasn't alone anymore, right? When I was going to like steal shit, I wasn't alone anymore. I was with God, and my papa, maybe he could see me. That was a big difference too. Like I'd never wanted him to see me living wrong or living the way that I was. And though he never got to see the recovery and all of that stuff, I'm still incredibly grateful. And I give all of that credit to him, right? And God, because I know he was in contact with God. To me, even then, when I didn't believe God was real, he was in a coma, like standing over the bed, working with God to prove to me that God was real, right?
For us.
Yeah.
Need to intervene here.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. It sucks. I've talked to some people who have family members, you know, who they really just were tortured throughout their whole lives with their loved one's addiction, and then that loved one will die, and they don't get to see the recovery part, right? And that kind of sucks, but I think they do get to see. So hell yeah, girl.
This is my dad. I can feel my dad with me Well, my dad, his anniversary upon his passing is June 29th. So, yeah, so between June 29th and I usually feel him like more strong. And I know that, he's like, he's always with me. I mean, he sends me signs and I feel his presence like, quite a bit. And I've had some just major experiences since I lost my dad. I don't know how many people are actually going to believe this, but I actually heard God.
Yeah,
And
girl.
I was going through a big spiritual shift and awakening, and I heard everybody said, well, it's like a voice, it was like thunder, but like stern like a dad. Like, a stern voice. He's like, stay in the light. And I was like, what does it as a child? Just like a child. This is the same way I talk to God. What does that mean? I stuff like that a lot. I am very much like a child when I talk to God, and he is so much. I feel like a father. Like he is. Get this? Like he came off just like a love father. Like, what are you doing? Like like not like talking down, but that stern, tough love. If you ever had that from your dad, where they just look at you, and you just there's not yelling, but stern, but with love, and that's how it was. But it was like almost like how thunder rumbles, and it was just like I knew right away. He never said, "I am God," like that. I just knew. I was like, "How do I stay in the light?" But it was just this beautiful experience, and I always have these experiences where I don't know if I've ever questioned like his presence, like and I just have these beautiful things that I get to experience, and I feel so blessed to have these experiences.
Hell yeah, girl. Awesome. Lloyd says, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but I'm finally a granddad, and my grandson Luca was born on my clean date. He was born December 7th. Oh, what a cool way to make that day even more special.
So I believe everything. There's a reason for everything. I don't believe in coincidences, but
yeah, absolutely. It's a God thing.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, it skipped again. Let's see here. My weakness is addiction. My weaknesses are addiction, mental health, and codependency. I am currently co-leading a Celebrate Recovery Step study. I still have moments of wanting to give up when I'm tired, but I take time to rest, give to God, and reach out. Clean date 1/17/22.
I love that. Congratulations.
Wow, that is beautiful. Keep kicking ass, girl.
Sometimes when
running a Celebrate Recovery Step study takes a lot of courage, right? To even get to that place. I love seeing people in the comments who are doing stuff like that. Yeah. I am a big fan of Recovering Out Loud, and I can't keep what was freely given to me if I don't give back. Awesome. All right, Aaron says, similar to Matt's story with Cassie, I met Mandy on one of the worst days of my life. She saw some hope in me that I had completely given up. She pulled me right off the streets, helped me get through my detox and into Darjun's sober living. I am forever grateful for that. Now I hope to do the same, spread the message, and share some hope. Love you all. Oh!
I know.
I'm so excited to see all these people in Green Bay, like who actually know Matt and Mandy's story. Like we know Matt and Mandy's story, but like we just hear it, right? Like it's awesome being able to be such a close person.
She's actually going to be working for Ascend, and she's taking on some of the fundraising for Darjun now. So
awesome.
I'm going to talk about most defiant person I've ever dealt with besides myself. Yeah. It wasn't just one county person. There's a few. Matt knows Erin pretty well too. She's a very amazing person. She's got a giant heart.
Yeah.
She's got a lot to give and a story to tell.
Yeah.
A good mom too.
Well, you guys, we are at 50 minutes, so I think I'm going to cut it short here. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you're in Green Bay and you're looking for some support, Mandy and Matt are both in Green Bay. And you can always reach out to the rest of the panel as well. But yes, we will see you guys next week. Have a great night. Bye.